Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be discussing my December 2024 state of the collection. I currently have a 4-piece collection and I keep my 4 watches in these 2 Mirage luxury travel rolls. So what's changed since my last state of the collection review? Well, I sold my Invicta Pro Diver 26970 quartz and I have added 3 additional pieces to my collection which I'll show you. So firstly, in this roll we have the king piece of my collection, which is my Rolex Submariner date reference 16610. And in this travel roll, we have my 3 new pieces, which I'll show you. On the left, we have my WatchDives WD1969. In the centre, we have my Traska Commuter 40mm, which I fitted to a Hirsch Honey camel grain leather strap. And on the right, we have my Traska Freediver. So I have reviewed hundreds of watches on my channel. Why have I chosen these 4 pieces for my own personal collection? Well, all of these 4 pieces satisfy the 3 most important elements to me as a collector: comfort, feel-good factor and thickness respectively. Above all else, the most important element is comfort. I like watches that are comfortable to wear for long periods of time, such as 8 to 12 hours per day. And I can tell you, of all the hundreds of watches I've reviewed, these 4 pieces give exceptional comfort. They're very comfortable watches to wear for 8 to 12 hours per day. Perfect taper on this bracelet, 20 to 16 millimeters is perfection personified. So the bracelet on this Submariner date perfectly balances the 40mm head of the piece. Now, initially, I ordered 2 Oyster links from Rolex in Switzerland, and then I visited a Rolex authorized dealer to have them fitted. But I was never really satisfied with the comfort level. You'll know from my previous reviews I like to wear my bracelets loose, but the correct sizing method is one should always be able to slide an index finger underneath the bracelet and clasp at all times, because that allows for wrist expansion in warmer weather or when one is active. Often it's the case that collectors size the bracelets too tight and therefore they can't slide an index finger underneath, and they never get full comfort from the piece because the bracelet is too tight when their wrist expands. But I added 2 links and I found that it was just slightly too loose and I just couldn't get the perfect fit. I kept adjusting it on the micro adjustments in the flanks, but it was either slightly too loose or slightly too tight. So in the end, I removed 1 link and I've now got the clasp central in the wrist, and it's improved the comfort level because I like the clasp to be symmetrical. I dislike when clasps are slightly to the left or slightly to the right. I prefer an even number of links, for example 6 on the 6 o'clock side and 6 on the 12 o'clock side. I dislike it when it's an uneven number of 7 and 6, for example. Now I have got it perfect, and it's taken me months, to be honest with you, adding and subtracting the link and also adjusting the micro adjustments to get the perfect fit, to get just that index finger of width underneath the bracelet and clasp to allow for that wrist expansion. So it satisfies comfort level, it's sublime. The other thing it satisfies is feel-good factor. Of all the watches I've owned since my first Rolex, which I purchased when I was 21, a Submariner 14060M, after 2 years of saving up from 19 to 21 years old as a university graduate, this has always been my favourite, the 16610. And I absolutely love this piece. This is a new old stock 2010. It was made in December, so it's one of the very last 2010 pieces before the 16610 was discontinued. And I'll never sell this piece. I'm going to keep it for the rest of my life. Of all the watches I've owned, this is my absolute favourite. This is my Grail watch. And if I had to choose one watch only, this would be it. So I absolutely love the 16610. Just gorgeous. Now, the thing I like about it, like all the other pieces, is the thickness. It satisfies the fact that it's below 13 millimeters. I like watches that don't have tall slab sides to the flanks of the case. I previously owned a Tudor Black Bay, which I really liked, but the thing that I disliked about it was it always felt like a top-heavy piece and always looked top-heavy because of the tall flanks to the case. It had slab sides to it. The thing I really like about this 16610 is it has very low profile flanks to the case. It doesn't have tall slab sides. So it's only 12.7. And I always say in my reviews, I consider 13mm to be the sweet spots because it means that a watch will easily slip underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts. And at 12.7, it's just below that 13mm sweet spot for a 300m dive piece. And I love the low profile flanks and also the undercut to the case, so we've got minimal gap underneath the tips of the lugs. It doesn't sit on top of the wrist like a slab of 904L oyster steel. It wraps around the wrist, and the 20-16 taper is just perfection personified. So comfort level is satisfied, feel good factor is outstanding, and thickness is also satisfied because it is below 13mm at 12.7. So king piece of my collection. I will never sell it, absolutely love it, and my favourite of all the watches I have ever reviewed and I've ever owned. So let's look at the 3 new pieces, and I'll explain why I sold my Invicta Pro Diver Quartz. I like the convenience of a quartz because you don't have to manually wind the watch, you don't have to put it on an automatic watch winder, and you don't have to wear the watch for 8 to 12 hours per day to keep it charged up. Sometimes it's nice just to be able to pick up a quartz without a date complication. You don't need to reset the dates if you haven't been wearing it and it's run out of power. I like just being able to pick up a watch and put it on, and that's the beauty of quartz, that you don't have to keep resetting the date on it. This doesn't have a date complication. The other thing I really like about this being a quartz, again, is the thickness, because this is only 11.8. So to put this into perspective, my Submariner date that I just showed you is 12.7, which is low profile, but this is only 11.8. It's actually below 12mm. And just look at how low profile and slender the flanks to the case are. Again, this doesn't have tall slab-sided flanks. Often it's the case with low-tier Chinese watches using the Seiko NH35A, for example. They have a deep rehorts, and also they have tall slab sides to the flanks of the case and bubble back profiles to the case back. And visually, they always look very thick because the deep rehorts means the dial is sunk deep away from the sapphire crystal, and also they have slab sides to allow for enough thickness to house the NH35A, which is a thick movement, and then they have a bubble back case back in order to clear the rotor. Problem with all of that is often they're 13mm or even in excess if they use a double dome sapphire crystal or a boxed top hat crystal. And they sit too tall on the wrist. They never feel truly comfortable. This is a very low profile piece, and again it has the perfect taper, 20-16, which is perfection. And I really like the proportions of it. Nice tapered lugs, low profile flanks to the case, and the thickness is fantastic. 11.8 is very low profile for a 200 water resistant piece. And I love the aluminium bezel inserts. It's just gorgeous the way the metallic silver catches the light, and the black has a satin finish to it rather than being glossy. Coin edge finish to the bezel, low profile, really good looking piece. This really is the ultimate champagne watch for lemonade money, and I think it totally captures the essence of that because it's inexpensive, it's accurate, it's reliable, and everything about it is done very well. The only thing that I would like to see is screw pins used all the way through the bracelet rather than a mixture of push pins and screw pins, but WatchDives deserve credit because this watch really represents WatchDives overtaking Pagani Design as the best champagne watch for lemonade money low tier brand. It used to be the case that the Pagani Design PD1661 was one of the best champagne watch for lemonade money, below €100, but this WD1969 really has the edge over it because it has BGW9 AR coating. It's more accurate than the NH35A because it uses the Seiko VH31, and of course it's more low profile because it's only 11.8mm. So this is something I really like about WatchDives. It's one of the greatest pieces, and it really has got the edge over the Pagani Design PD1661. This was the watch that really made WatchDives overtake Pagani Design as the best quality and best value at the respective price point, and certainly at the €100 price point. This cannot be beaten. So, comfort level is satisfied, feel good factor is outstanding, and the thickness is also satisfied because it's only 11.8. So, really good watch, and I absolutely enjoy wearing it. The thing is, I want to make the point, I own a Rolex Submariner date, and I also own this WatchDives. Now, there's a massive price difference. I paid €14,500 for my Rolex Submariner dates. The WatchDives was gifted to me by WatchDives, but it's a €100 piece. The point is, I get the same feel-good factor from a €100 piece as I do a €14,500 new old stock piece. So it really doesn't matter to me what the brand is or what the price point is if it's a low-tier, mid-tier or high-tier piece. The feel-good factor, the comfort level and thickness are the important elements. So next we have another favourite watch. It's unusual. I've reviewed hundreds of watches, and usually when I review a watch, I don't feel any instant connection to it when I put it on the wrist. And this watch was unusual in that when I first took it out of the box, I immediately felt an attraction to the watch. I felt connected to it, and I thought, I really like the look of this. I'm going to add it to my personal collection. I put it on the wrist, and I just found it so comfortable. I thought, this has the feel-good factor, this has the comfort level, and then the thickness, of course, it's only 10.8. Now, I further enhanced the comfort level because I fitted it to my favourite leather strap. This is a Hirsch Honey camel grain strap, and it's extra long, as you can see, so it fits up to my 8-inch wrist. This is made in Austria. The quality of the Honey camel grain leather is perfection. It's one of the greatest leather straps I've ever experienced. So I'll give you a wrist shot. So this is only 10.8 millimeters due to using the Miyota 9039. Now, you'll know from my previous reviews, my two favourite Miyota calibers are the 9039 and also the 9015 respectively. So the 9039 used in this piece is the no-date version of the 9039. So as you can see, Hirsch camel grain XL strap, plenty of length on it for my 8-inch wrist, and I can slide the end of the strap into the two keepers. So this is what I like about Hirsch straps. They make XL straps for collectors with larger wrists of 8 inches. Just look at how low profile it is and the curved undercut to the curved lugs. It wraps around the wrist. Even with the top hat boxed crystal on it, it is only 10.8. It's below 11 millimeters thick. As I've detailed, 13 millimeters is the sweet spot. Anything below 13 will easily slip underneath the shirt cuff. At 10.8, this is incredibly comfortable. Nice vintage aesthetic because of the boxed top hat crystal. I love the sunburst silver dial, the way it catches the light. Perfect symmetry to the dial because we don't have a date complication. And on this honey tone camel grain strap, I love the contrast between the silver sunburst dial and the honey tone of the strap. Beautiful taper to the strap as well. Just gorgeous. This is incredibly comfortable because putting on the leather strap, it reduces the heft. This is only 62 grams. It's one of the lightest pieces I have reviewed on my channel. 62 grams is the kind of heft one would expect with a quartz piece or a manual wind piece, not an automatic. Now, the benefit of the 9039, as you'll all know from my previous reviews, is the low cannon pinion stack height of the handset. It's got a lower cannon pinion stack height than the 9015, which is the date version of it, and this reduces the thickness of the head of the piece because the 9039 is a very thin movement, very low profile, and also the box top hat crystal sits very close to the cannon pinion and handset, so the legibility is outstanding, and I really like that it's only 10.8. At 62 grams, this feels invisible. You can wear this watch for 8 to 12 hours per day and it feels weightless. 62 grams is negligible heft. On the leather strap, it's just the comfort level is 10 out of 10. And I do like the bracelet that this comes on, but sometimes I just feel like a change because I like black dial dive watches. As you can see, I have 3 of them, but sometimes I just feel like I need a change from wearing a bracelet black dial dive watch, and this honey leather strap with the silver sunburst dial does suffice. It's the perfect daily wear piece. Just gorgeous from every angle. The feel good factor of this piece is really good. I really enjoy wearing it, and just one of my favourite watches. I immediately felt a connection to it, and I knew I was going to add it to my collection, and that's very unusual because often I just review a watch and I don't feel any connection to it. So there we are. It's good on the oyster bracelet, and it's also good on this leather strap, and I also think it would look good on a NATO strap or alternatively a rubber strap as well, which is something I want to experiment with. So lastly, we'll look at the latest edition, and again, this is a champagne watch for lemonade money, one of the greatest watches I have reviewed on my channel. This uses the Miyota caliber 9015, which is the date version of the 9039 used in my Traska Commuter. Both outstanding Miyota 9000 series premium grade movements. 12.2. So I'll give you a wrist shot, and this is a very low profile piece, bearing in mind it's 200 meters. At 12.2, it's well below the sweet spot of 13 millimeters, so it will easily slip underneath the shirt cuff, even though it has a boxed top hat double dome sapphire crystal. Visually, this looks fantastic from every angle. I absolutely love it. There's nothing I would change about this watch. It's very unusual for me to review a watch and not think of something I would like to change, something I dislike about the piece. But Traska deserve credit because this is the perfect dive piece. And I just love the look of it. The glossy ceramic bezel, which is inlaid with BGW9. The box top hat crystal gives it a vintage aesthetic with the pierced lugs and the nice large mirror polished bevels, which mark the transition between the top of the lugs and the flanks. Taper on the bracelet again is perfection personified, 20-16. This is the industry standard for a 39 or a 40mm head of the piece. You cannot beat 20-16. On an oyster style bracelet, it is the perfect taper. It just cannot be bettered. 22-18 just doesn't look as good. 20-16 is perfect. Nice curved undercut to the case, minimal gap below the tips of the lugs. Female pivoted end links enhance it even further because we've got nice articulation. The bracelet is fantastic. The hardened 1200 HV hardness thickers, so it's scratch resistant, but beautiful luster to the hardened 316L grade stainless steel. So 3 core elements. Comfort level is satisfied, feel good factor is satisfied, thickness is definitely satisfied because only 12.2, it's well below the 13mm sweet spot. So all of the pieces I own are low profile, they have comfort level and feel good factor, regardless of the price point. So I like all of the watches equally. Now it may come as a surprise to you because you might think, well, obviously the Submariner Date is the most expensive piece, the best quality, I should like that the most, but the truth is, I like all of these watches. The feel-good factor I get from all of the 3 pieces is equal. I actually enjoy wearing the WatchDives WD1969, which is the most inexpensive of my collection. It's a €100 piece, but I actually enjoy wearing it as much as my Submariner Dates, which is the most expensive. The Traska Commuter 40 on the leather strap, the thing that I like about it most is the comfort level on the leather strap. And at 62 grams, the comfort it's the most comfortable piece out of all of the 4 watches. Freediver, the design of it, I love the mill sub style 60-minute ticks, the symmetry of the dial with a date at 6, and it's just everything about it is just a gorgeous looking piece. So visually, this is one of my favourites. I love the look of it. And I wouldn't change anything about the design of it. It has a vintage aesthetic but modern day specification, so they've got the balance right. And of course, the king piece of my collection, my Submariner Date 16610, which really is the ultimate for me. It reminds me a lot of my first Rolex Submariner, the 14060M, and that was the no-date version. And I really love that watch. That was the watch that sparked my interest in watches when I was 19. I'm now 47 years old. But I can remember the day I purchased that 14060M after 2 years of saving up hard for it to get the £2,500 needed. It was the highest of highs. I got the most incredible dopamine rush I've ever experienced in my life. And I was walking down the streets with it on my wrist for the first time, and I could not take my eyes off the watch. It was just incredible. I had that immediate connection. And of course, I was completely intoxicated with dopamine. And I've always really liked the 14060M and the 16610 Submariner and Submariner Date respectively. That classic case shape with the aluminium bezel insert. This 16610 really is the ultimate for me because it does remind me of the 14060M, which is the no-date version of it, the Submariner. And I feel that same kind of feeling when I wear it. It reminds me, it takes me straight back to being 21 years old and having that first Rolex Submariner, the watch I always wanted after 2 years of saving up. So I get that feel-good factor from it. I absolutely love the shape of it. The design is iconic, and it will always be my favourite watch, the Submariner Date 16610. I've owned a plethora of Rolex watches over the years, and I've also owned several different versions of the Submariner and Submariner Dates, as you'll know from my reviews. But the 16610 Classic case really is the one for me. I love the taper of the lugs, everything about it. So, fantastic watch, the king piece of my collection. So, do I have any plans to add another piece, a 5th piece? Yes. I'm currently waiting for the WatchDives Speedmaster Mars, the WD1863, to come in because I'm looking forward to reviewing it, but also I'm considering adding it to my collection because I understand they've refined it from the 1860 and the 1861 respectively, because it now has a 39mm bezel and they've slimmed down the proportions of the case. So I like the look of it and I want to see what it's like on wrist, because I'm thinking of adding a chronograph piece, and I think the WD1863 Speedmaster Marge could suffice, because I've been very impressed with this WD1969 Pelagos Marge, the comfort level, the feel good factor, and of course the thickness. I'm thinking at 13.5mm the W1863 Speedmaster Marge could be a fifth piece, and then that would fill up this gap I have in this second watch roll. So I hope you've enjoyed my review of my December 2024 State of the Collection. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you for watching.